Hi guys, my name is Devi and welcome to the very first episode of Let's Talk. Woo! If I can find sound effects, I'm gonna put applause right here. If not, then it's just gonna be me here in silence. Guys, we made it. This is literally the first episode of my new podcast called Let's Talk, and literally in this podcast we are going to discuss all topics under the sun. I do not want to be restricted in any sort of way. I want to talk about, experiences, issues that have made us who we are and who we aspire to become, right? I want to have conversations and a laugh, here or there, because I think laughing is very important. So it's just not too serious, but serious at the same time, if you get what I mean. And because this is the first episode, I want it to be nice, short and sweet. Hopefully it's sweet. And I want to talk about how I ended up here with a mic in my hand behind a camera recording this, because guys, this thing has taken me months to finally sit down and record this thing. I was delaying this for ages. I was delaying it for so long. So the fact that I'm here right now is a testimony in itself. And I'm actually glad that I'm now doing it. And so this episode, I want to talk about, again, how I got here doing this. This is my journey of becoming. We're all on a journey of becoming, right? We're all on a journey of becoming the best version of ourselves, of reaching full potential. And my journey literally starts here. And so guys, this podcast, I would say there were many things that were stopping me from doing this podcast. There were, many fears, many thoughts that were going on in my head. And I would say the two main things that kind of jump out in my mind, the two main things that stopped me was fear. That's stupid fear. It's fear, and it was comparison. And I'm just going to, say a little points on both of them. So fear. So I would say, fear. So it was more fear of failure, fear of, let's say, not being good enough. What if I start this and it doesn't work out? What if I do this and people say that I am not good enough? What if I don't articulate myself enough? What if this? There were many ifs, and there were many negative ifs. And it was something that literally started to give me anxiety, because I was just like, how am I meant to do this? How am I meant to be here and create a podcast? There are many podcasts around. Like, why do I need, why should I start a podcast as well? What can I give? So it was literally a lot of ifs that were stopping me. And I realized that that's why all of the ideas that I've ever had, or thoughts, they always stayed as thoughts, or they always stayed as ideas, and nothing came of them, because a thought that stays a thought cannot create anything. A thought that's, let's say, converted into an action can create everything or anything. So all my thoughts always remained a thought because of fear. And I remember reading a book. So I'm currently reading this book, guys. I'm reading many books. So I'm reading this book called Ditching Imposter Syndrome, and it's by Claire Joza. Claire Joza. And there's this thing called mind story fears. So there are legitimate fears and there are mind story fears. So legitimate fears is if, let's say, you're at the top of the cliff and it's very windy, right? A genuine fear is, oh my gosh, what if this wind comes and I fly off, the cliff, I somersault and I hit some rocks down? Is a genuine fear. Mind story fear is literally a made up fear, a fear of you making up, many scenarios, you what ifings, you worrying, you doing all of this. And the thing about it is that your body cannot tell the difference between a mind story fear and a legitimate fear. So your bodily response is going to be exactly the same. So as I was like kind of imagining all these negative things, all these bad what ifs, my body was literally was becoming stressed, and it was going into survival mode. And that's what happens when you create all those fake scenarios, when you have such negative thoughts, when you do all of this. You're literally making your body go into fight or flight. You literally start to go into survival mode. And I realized that's what I was doing. And so I started doing things to pacify this. So one thing I've realized about myself to pacify, guys, I be binge watching every TV show under the sun, and it'll be TV shows that I've watched before. I'll watch it again as if I've never watched it before. And that was my way of procrastinating, because if I procrastinate, it means I don't have to spend time on this podcast. If I don't spend time on this podcast, that means I'm not going to fail, and it was just a never ending cycle until I had to break out of it. And another thing about fear is that another thing about fear is that fear will always feed like on these negative thoughts, right? In this book, there's another thing that Claire speaks about. It's something called a reticular activating system, or memory. So it's called RAS, right? I'll short it to RAS. Guys, I'm not a neurosurgeon. I'm not a neurologist. If I explain this incorrectly, you'll get my drift, right? So we obviously have guys, my heart it's like I can't even breathe. One thing I realized, guys, is that I don't be breathing when I'm talking. I say many sentences and I forget to breathe. And so if I'm panting or I'm sounding, it's because I'm not breathing. Okay, so we have this thing called reticular activating system. And so what it is that, okay, we have thoughts, right? We have a conscious mind and we have an unconscious mind. And so the reticular activating system is literally responsible for filtering the information that you get, right? So one thing it does, it identifies things that are important to you. So how does it identify the things that are important to you? It literally does it through your thought habits, your thought patterns. So if you're constantly thinking a certain way, after all, what happens is that it literally rewires your brain to create like shortcuts to like neural pathways, shortcuts to neural pathways. So it's literally now there on standby. So if I give you an example, let's say I'm constantly thinking, I am not good enough, and I've been thinking about it like that, right? Your brain will now go on autopilot. That neural pathway is literally, it's an autopilot thing. It will be the first thought that will go through your mind. And what it does is that it now tries to find evidence of that belief. It tries to find evidence to back up that thing that you think. So I think that I'm not good enough. I can't talk well. I can't do this. Someone now comes, I do something, they now give me feedback, and they compliment me. They say, oh my gosh, you're the best speaker I've ever heard in my life. Oh my gosh, your vibe is so good. Yappa, 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 yappa. And then they will just say maybe one thing. Oh, one thing I picked up on is that you say a lot, or you look up a lot, or you move your hands a lot, or you do this thing a lot. You would not even hear the compliments. You're going to literally hold on to that one negative thing. And the RAS, so the reticular activating system, is going to use that as evidence to back up your belief of not being good enough. The thoughts, your mind is a powerful thing, and that's why it says literally in the Bible, out of the abundance of the heart, your mind, your mouth speaks. You saying all these things, you're not good enough, you're doing this, whatever. That's what you literally believe about yourself. And there's a thing now, you need to start to rewire the way your mind thinks. And one thing that really helped me with that was telling people this idea. So having accountability, so telling certain friends that, what, I want to start a podcast, I want to do this, and them holding me accountable, them encouraging me, because there are times where they're going to see something in you that you may not necessarily see in yourself yet. because, experiences, certain things you've gone through, certain things that maybe, people have said about you, sometimes it can stay in your mind and you now perceive yourself a certain way. Doesn't mean that everyone perceives you that way. So there are times where you need to hear an outside voice to kind of snap you out of it. And I had many outside voices in this instance that were literally encouraging me. So when I felt like, oh, you know what, I can't do this, like I can't do it, whatever, they would ask me, what do you mean? Why can't you do it? Like, they would literally just encourage me to the point where I was like, you know what? Yes, I can do this. And I feel like there are many of us literally that are here in fear, not starting what we're meant to start because we're scared of failure. What if I fail? What if people think this? What if you don't fail? What if you actually succeed? What if people relate to you? What if people love your idea? But you will never know if you don't start. You will never know if you don't take that risk. You will never know if you don't take that step out. And as I'm telling you, I'm telling myself as well, because I'm recording this. The next step is actually posting it, right? Okay. And another thing that stopped me was comparison. Look, when they say comparison is the thief of joy, it's really the thief of joy, and it's the thief of peace as well. Comparing yourself to other people is so toxic, because one, it's now going to make you compete against people that can never be your competition. And when I say they can never be your competition, it's because they are excelling at being them, right? No one can do you better than you can do you. Look, let me tell you something free. If I want to try and sing like Beyonce, I can try my hardest to sing like Beyonce, and I will constantly fall down and fail at sounding like Beyonce. Now, if I want to sound like me, if I want to be me, I will succeed, right? Because no one can do me. No one can do Deborah Okpeyemi Faloa. No one can do me better than I can do me. And that's when I now realized that you're actually not in competition with anyone. You can look at someone and be like, you know, I aspire to be where they are. You can look at someone and be like, oh my gosh, they've worked so hard, they've excelled, they are excellent, and it inspires you and it encourages you, but not so that now you can be, let me not say better than them, or so you can be, on top of them, above them. That's not what it is. We literally all have our own domain. We have our own space, our own mountain that we are called to. And if you're literally focused on what you are meant to be doing, I promise you're not going to be comparing yourself to others, because you realize that there's nothing to compare, because you cannot compare. Even people that are in the same field as you, there's something that you're going to be able to bring. There's something that you're going to be able to give that they won't be able to. And there's something they will be able to give, something that they will be able to bring that you will not be able to. Your main focus should literally be on becoming excellent in your craft. And that was now one thing that was a problem. I was looking at all these other podcasters. I was looking at everyone else, and I was like, but this is how they speak. Like, but this is how they sound. This is what they're doing. But I've realized even they had to start somewhere. Even they had to start and create their first video. They're excellent at it now, but the only reason they're excellent at it now is because they actually started, right? They started, they had their little failures, maybe they were embarrassed to begin with, they got rejected to begin with, but they kept on persevering and they kept on doing it until they became excellent in their craft. And one thing I realized that I don't like doing is going through the process. Like, what do you mean I have to be consistent? I have to go through the process. Like, it's just long, but it's necessary, because going through the process, it builds character. Going through the process allows you to develop yourself. Going through the process is a necessary part of being successful. You can't just want the result without putting the work in. Yeah. And so those were the things that honestly, they were stopping me from doing that. And the thing, like I mentioned, that helped me was having accountability. So having people that support you, having people that will have your back, that will lift your arms up when you can't lift your arms up. And another thing was praying. So I was scared of starting this, and I was trying to get God to partner with how I saw myself. He was never going to do that, and he's never going to partner with you, with how you see yourself. If you see yourself as this lowly person, as, you know, having low self-esteem, you're not confident, and you want God to partner with that thought, I'm just here to let you know it's impossible. He's not going to partner with you, with how you view yourself. You need to partner with him and how he sees you. And it reminds me of the story of Gideon. He felt that he was, you know, the lowest and the weakest in his family. Well, and God came, said, you know, the angel of the Lord came and said, the Lord is with you, you mighty man of valor. Can you see the contradiction? The evidence, everything around was telling this guy, was telling Gideon that he was the weakest in the family, that he was the lowest in the family. Literally the verses before, he was hiding wheat out of fear. The verse after, God is telling him that he's a mighty man of valor. And it's the fact that even when Gideon was trying to justify saying, but I'm the weakest in the family, God didn't even listen. God was like, go in this strength of yours, go in this might of yours. Why? Because it now forced Gideon to literally partner with the image that God has about him. So even if you do not identify with it now, as you continue praying, as you continue renewing your mind, that's why renewing your mind is important. As you continue renewing your mind, there's a revelation that you get. You literally start to see yourself the way God sees you. And it's something that happened to me, that there were times when now negative thoughts would come in, and I realized, I'm like, no. Literally, God has not given me the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and like the thoughts to, you know, contradict that negative thought was coming. And that's because now I was starting to see myself the way that God, you know, saw me. And that is truly what has given me the boldness to do this now. So guys, you know, I'm doing this episode because I want to encourage someone to step out, to start that thing. You may fail to begin with, right? You may fail, but a wise man, you know, fell 7 times, he gets back up each time. You have to get back up, right? Failures is literally a part of success. It's character building. It teaches you lessons. If you take failures too personally, you're never going to get anywhere. But if you take them as lessons and you learn from them, I promise you will excel. So I want to use this as an encouragement. Start that thing, because you honestly do not know who you will help. Get out of your mind. Get out of your mind. You thinking that you are not good enough, or you thinking that you don't articulate yourself well enough, or people are not going to listen. Look, even if you reach just one person, that one person is important. Start that thing. Okay. And that's, you know, I'm talking to myself as well, because like I said, I'm still going to need to post this. I still need to post this. I still need to edit this. Look, guys, I am looking forward to going on this journey with you. Guys, you know, this is my first time doing a podcast. I'm not going to be perfect. And to be fair, I'm not aiming for perfection. I'm aiming for excellence. So if my editing is higgy-haggy a little bit, if the audio, you know, cuts out a little bit, it's cool. I will get there. I will fix this, and I will become excellent at this. And you will become excellent at what you want to do as well, if you just start. Yeah. So yes, guys, I'm looking forward to having many discussions with you, having many candid conversations with you. It's not just going to be me. I'm going to be bringing people on this podcast to talk about many topics under the sun. But yeah, guys, let's talk.